All right, how rolfing gives you more energy. Now, when I say more energy, I'm referring to more of the physical definition of the word energy. I'm not talking about prana or chi or any type of thing where that word energy um, is used more loosely. I'm talking about the physical definition, calories, um, that general feeling of fatigue, that type of energy is what I'm referring to. This is a tensegrity model. So it's a balance of rubber bands and wooden dowels, and it's meant to loosely model pelvis and femurs. The femurs are these two vertical, long ones. Pelvis is kind of this more horizontal shape. Now, if you look at this just from an aesthetic point of view, you can see that it has lots of right angles. Um, it's aesthetically pleasing. It looks orderly. Now, let's say, for the sake of this example, everybody is born with this neutral balance, blank slate. Now, what happens when at age 5 you get signed up for gymnastics, you fall in love with it, and you do that for 10 years? Um, Before you have much embodiment. And let's say your pelvis gets tilted down. You get an anterior tilt to your pelvis, as they call it. You can see here that the pelvis is now slanted. Putting them side by side, there's a lot more right angles to the first pelvis I showed. Now, does this pelvis look chaotic? Does this model look chaotic? I wouldn't say that. It still is aesthetically pleasing. It still is in a nice harmony. It's easy to describe. It's like, well, these wooden dowels are slanting more down now. Not as many right angles, but it's fine. Now, what happens when you have something that isn't so uniformly changing of your body? Maybe you fall out of a tree when you're 14, you get in a car accident. Maybe you're just driving as you start working as an adult. You have a long commute, it's stressful on the highways. You're leaning your left leg against the door in a way, and then you have like an anxiety, you have a stress as you're in this traffic, and change happens that isn't so uniform. Even being, dominant handed, having a right hand is going to shift things in your body in a way that isn't uniform. And I'm not saying the body should be uniform, but I'm going to add a band here to this model. That's a little dramatic. So now look at it. It's still in harmony, it's still in balance, but it's a little harder to describe what's going on. It's like, well, this leg's obviously coming in, but there's some kind of a rotational component happening. It's a little more chaotic looking. It's less aesthetically balanced. But I can take my hands and I can sort of start to balance it out a bit in a way that makes it sort of resemble the starting pelvis. I'm not doing a great job of it, but maybe that's kind of the point. Now, I'm not saying that a rolfer is going to come in and do this to you. What I'm modeling here is what your body is going to naturally do. And as soon as I let go, as soon as I'm no longer adding the energy, so I'm adding energy from my body into this model here to make it less distorted looking. And as soon as I let go, it comes back to its original posture. And let me be clear that when I say posture, posture is a state of being. It's not a state of doing. The second you start pulling your shoulders back or adding energy into it, using muscles to change things, you're no longer in a state of posture. But what the body does, well, let me back up. This is distorted looking. The story that I just described is not very distorted. That's an average life, right? You do some activity as a kid, you get in a car accident, um, you drive to work. These are normal life events that happen to nearly everyone. Now, you don't see many people with this much distortion walking around. Occasionally, you see somebody with a wonky gait. Oh, something must have happened to them. But in general, you don't notice people walking. It looks more or less normal. Um, so how does that happen? The body will prime your baseline posture into something that's more functional. Because if you need to walk forward, if you need to walk 2 miles and this is your shape that you're walking in, you're not going to be, you need to walk straight. It's not going to happen if this is your shape. So your body will be creative, expend energy to force your shape into something that will allow it to meet the demand that you're asking it to meet. Now, the second you stop walking, you're going to be, oh man, you're going to be tired, and it's going to come back to this because this is your baseline posture. Now, what a rolfer can do is start to maybe remove some of these bands and give you a more comfortable baseline posture. Now, we're obviously not removing tissue from your body, but we are kind of combing things out, separating tissue, separating bands that are stuck on one another. And then all of a sudden, you're in something that's a little more comfortable. Now, is it as perfect as the original one, as right angles? No, still a little bit of tilt to it, but it's not chaotic anymore. It's functional. You're going to be able to walk with less energetic expenditure to kind of prime your posture into something else. And so when I say when rolfing gives more energy, that's what I mean. You don't have to prime your body as much to do what you need to do. Now, is rolfing the only way to do that? No. We have a brilliant system in which our body will respond to the demand we put on it. And if you are walking 10 miles a day, every day, your body will then be forced into changing to its baseline posture into something that will meet the demand you're putting on it. But if you're walking just barely a mile or two and it's uncomfortable and you just want it to be over with, and then you get home and you sprawl back into your baseline posture of relaxed, no energetic expenditure, it may not be enough demand to change the impetus. So I'm not saying rolfing's the only way to do it, but it's the fastest way to do it that I'm aware of. So that's what I mean as far as rolfing can improve your energy.